They're two happy women bringing you inspiring stories, politics, pop culture, and lifestyle hacks, all with an eye to making our communities and our country a better place to live. It's the Happy Women Podcast with your hosts, Jen Horn and Katie Gorka.
The Trump administration going after Mr. Rogers and Oscar the Grouch. Okay, maybe not so much. Maybe they're just going after a little bit of corruption and government fraud and overspending on things that probably don't need our tax dollars. We'll have a little bit of fun today on this episode of the Happy Women Podcast. I'm Jennifer Horn.
And I'm Katie Gorka.
And joining us right now, I'm so excited because, Katie, you know, you're our work wife. Yeah, you're our work wife. I'm here with you on the podcast, and don't worry, we're just platonic work wives. And Mike Gonzalez is the co-author of your book, which we talk about all the time, Next Gen Marxism. He's also a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, has an amazing career, amazing storied career, and he joins us right now. And it's our first time getting to chat, so it's so exciting to have you here, Mike Gonzalez. Thanks so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure to be here at Ad Nunberg.
Now here we go. It's exactly right. Yesterday, you took part in this hearing, which I thought was so enlightening. I was able to watch pieces of this about the future of PBS, the future of NPR. There's so many outlets the government funds that are political actors and are acting politically motivated and not necessarily spreading just a non-political message from our government. And first of all, how was that hearing for you yesterday? You mentioned before we started recording that it's very chaotic. It kind of sucks you in. But what did you think? What were your takeaways after it was completed?
So first, it's let me just correct something. It's not about the future of NPR and PBS, which I think will survive the withdrawal of taxpayer money. And I don't care what happens to them. I don't care if the New York Times exists or MSNBC. Unlike NPR CEO Catherine Marr, I don't want to suppress views I disagree with. I just don't think it's fair that conservatives are forced to pay, for their funding, because they are,
of course,
they denigrate our views and they tip the scales on not just on the side of the left, on the side of the left of the left. So the hearing is about whether we will continue to force conservative family. By the way, it's also a very regressive tax, because the NPR audience and the PBS audience is incredibly wealthy, is super affluent, super college accredited. Notice I'm not saying educated. And something I really do not care at all about, it's super white. Like 7% is African-American and 6% is African-American, 7% is Hispanic-American. Hispanics can be all different colors, but and I don't care. I don't care about race, but they do. So
they presented it in a different way, though, in that hearing, right? Like it was super serving those minorities.
Well, no, their new mantra. So again, yesterday in the hearing, I felt like I was in a time warp, because the Democrats had nothing. All they had was Elmo, the Cookie Monster, and Big Bird. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they haven't heard that the Sesame Street Workshop is a private entity which has a very lucrative deal with HBO, which actually HBO has just said, we're not going to renew the 5-year deal. It came due, and HBO says there's no demand for you. So they're not going to renew the deal. So now they're looking for somebody else. But they had, until recently, they're at the end of a very lucrative private deal, a lot of bucks. A lot of greenbacks. So the Sesame Street is only shown on PBS 9 months later. It's shown on HBO before. So, but these guys didn't get the message. So the new mantra at PBS and NPR is two things. One is, we need public media for local news coverage, and we need public media for advanced warnings in weather emergencies in hard-to-reach places. That's their new thing. And so this is a syllogism that goes like this: for the public, for the local coverages, without public media, there is no local coverage. Without local coverage, there is no democracy. Ergo, without public media, there is no democracy. And the other one is, without public media, there's no advance warning for weather emergencies. Without advance warning for weather emergencies, people will die. Ergo, without public media, people will die, which sounds like a hostage taking situation. You give us money, or people will die. Uh, Complete hogwash, by the way. But that's the case they were making yesterday. Only the Democrats were showing Elmo and Big Bird. The star witnesses, the CEO of PBS and NPR, were not doing that.
So one of the issues that often comes up inside of DC is the fact that, people who with normal market radio shows will work with a staff of 3 to 4, whereas NPR, for example, will have a staff of 15, 20 people. It's like government bureaucracy, right? They are so bloated with money and with people, and it's just terribly inefficient and wasteful. But I'm curious, did the dollar amounts come out yesterday? Because I only got to see the beginning of the testimony. I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene's opening I loved.
Right.
And then when the Democrats started going in after the whole signal thing, I couldn't watch it anymore. So what amount of money are we talking about here?
Well, you stopped watching at that point? You didn't watch me?
I'm sorry.
I came after the whole signal thing. I was sitting there like I was in peace because I said, Katie's watching.
I will go back.
Were you grabbing your ear?
So the defunding, it's fun, right? Because they say, well, so the continuing resolution just appropriated $535 million for public media, right? And they had asked for more, but that was last year's level. So the CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which was set up by LBJ to do two things: get the appropriated money and distribute it to PBS, NPR, and over 1,500 radio and television stations. So they say, because 70% of that money goes to the 1,500 local radio and television stations. PBS and NPR only get like 29%. And you say, oh, okay. But then the local stations have to turn around and buy programming from PBS and NPR. If it's a local TV station, they'll buy from PBS. If it's a local radio station, they'll buy from NPR. So Jim Jordan asked Catherine Marr, the CEO of NPR, about this. He said, isn't this a shell game? She goes, oh, no. I beg to differ because this money is given only the fees that NPR and PBS charge are predicated on how much money they raise in the private sector from private donors. So it's appropriate. And Jim Jordan goes, well, isn't money fungible? In other words, if I give you, Ms. Warren, $1 and Katie gives you $1, and you say, I'm not going to spend Mike Gonzalez's $1 on candy, but I'm going to spend Katie's $1 on candy.
That's right.
And I'm going to save the other $1.
It's all hers.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't spend Mike's money on candy. So money is fungible in that sense. So Catherine Marr was forced to say, yeah, no, you're right. Money is fungible. So it is a shell game.
And it seems like more and more as we dig into this stuff, we realize how the organizations that we have trusted maybe, or that we did trust in the past, they become these gigantic slush funds where they can just pass money all over the place. I mean, it's unbelievable. What do you think, Mike, is the ultimate solution here? Should they be completely cut off from government money? I mean, it's not about whether or not they survive. I think they probably would survive outside of the government. But is there any role for government money to fund these places?
Wait, I couldn't get past the fact that you said you trusted NPR and PBS at one point.
Well, I did. When I was a kid, I enjoyed some of the programming, I guess. But I mean, I'm
Were
sure
you
at some point, look.
Did you not have parents who told you better?
Look, they were questionable. Okay, Mike, they were questionable. But no, the truth is, like, I think at some point, some of us, and I won't look at you, trust the government to tell us, oh, we're using your money. We're good stewards of your money. And then one day we have this aha moment where we go, wait a second, that's not what I want my money to go towards.
So they've been untrustworthy from the very beginning. At the very beginning, when God created the earth, when LBJ created the CPB, so the first Republican is Richard Nixon. And there was a young lawyer in his White House who wrote a very influential memo saying, this is a problem. that we have created a problem here with public media. His name was Antonin Scalia. And every Republican president and every Republican Congress since then has tried to defund them, because from the very beginning, what we have here, Jen, is a circular relationship, a very undemocratic circular relationship. Democrats unanimously appropriate money, vote to give money to NPR and PBS and public media. The rest of this is a whole bunch of them. American Public Media, I think Pacifica Radio was once got public money, then no longer gets taxpayer money. The Democracy Now!, if you can believe it, the communist show. I don't think they get taxpayer money anymore. But anyway, so there was I lost my train of thought.
You were saying that Scalia wrote a paper.
No.
And
Oh, yeah. So they have, from the very beginning, Republicans have said this is a problem that they tried to get rid of them. The circular relationship is Democrats unanimously vote money for them, and they, in turn, public media tips the scales heavily in favor of Democrats, and not just Democrats, in favor of the left of the left. They think they ran a show on how self-immolation is actually, by the way, that means burning yourself. It's a legitimate protest tactic. They justify looting. In fact, that came up yesterday, in which I think it was Gill, who's a fantastic new congressman from Texas, Brandon Gill, said to Catherine Marbury, "But you have justified looting." I've never done that. She says, "No, you did. When you said that this book that you said that was a great book," and he gave the title, and Catherine Marbury goes, "I have never read that book." And Gil goes, "There's this tweet here from you that you actually said you took the day off to finish the book." And it was a horrible hearing for her. It was horrible.
Her tweet certainly came back front and center in that hearing for sure.
It was bad for me because I didn't get to talk that much, but it was good. It was good for America because America got to see who Catherine Marbury was.
So we just have another minute or two, but what was your sense by the end of the hearing? What direction do you feel this going? Do you think it's likely that the funding will be cut? Where do you feel it ended up?
I think, well, Chairwoman Green herself said that she's going to make sure that they don't get a dime anymore. I think momentum is definitely on the side of people like me, who for years has been writing, this is a travesty. Jefferson, who never heard a broadcast in his life, said that to force men to pay for opinions with which he disagrees is tyranny. This is unfair. Ro Khanna, the congressman from California who plays a nice guy on TV, but is not a nice guy, asked me, he said that my testimony was angry. So I read the testimony from the beginning. It was very angry. And I didn't think of it in the moment, but what I should have said was like, yeah, I am angry. How come you're not angry? This is a travesty to ask half of the country, if not more than half of the country that is conservative, to pay for opinion that denigrates us. And I think that this time it will be done. And by the way, I think, again, NPR and PBS will survive.
Yeah. They survive, but not on the dime of the taxpayer. That's for sure. Mike Gonzalez, you have been so much fun to talk to. I hope you'll come back again because I need to know, what was the best thing about writing a book with Katie?
It was all good. I can't pick a
very good
single
answer
part because all of it was good.
Look you can't get better than that. I like it. Mike Gonzalez, the author of Next Gen Marxism, right alongside Katie. They are co-authors on that book. You need to pick that up. And of course, senior fellow with Heritage. They do great work at the Heritage Foundation. Mike, thank you so much.
With somebody who has such a sharp mind is an everyday gift.
Look at that. Yes, I agree with you.
Back at you. We had we did. We had a great time doing that book together. And Mike, I was excited to see that one of your other books is currently on Encounter's top 10 list.
Oh, no.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you'll have to go online and look. And we're super excited because Next Gen Marxism is coming out in paperback in September.
I haven't checked how well our book is selling in the last couple of hours. Yeah.
And not a serious, he's just total, not serious at all, this guy. I love him, Mike. You've got a great sense of humor. You are fun. Thanks. All right. Thank you so much for being with us and come back again soon.
Bye.
Hi, guys. All right. I've lost another 2 pounds this week. Last Friday, I was a little bit nervous about what I'd see on the scale, but I'm telling you, the PhD weight loss plan never disappoints. You follow the program works for you. It is that simple. And what's great is that the experts at PhD do all the planning for you. All you have to do is commit and follow the plan, and you're going to create some really amazing habits. Plus, it's customized to your personal needs and to your schedule. So what's great about PhDs, when you first join the program, you sit down, you talk with one of their consultants, one of their nutritionists who are going to take you through everything, find out your needs, your concerns, your schedule. What are your challenges? It's not a one size fits all plan. It is absolutely customized to your needs. And what's really great, especially to get you started when you're really getting used to the program, is that they provide you about 80% of your food at no additional cost. That means no extra thinking. You save some money on groceries, and you're ready to go. That's how they optimize. That's how they get optimal results for you on the scale. There's no drugs, no injections, no expensive medication. It's 100% science-based nutrition, and it teaches your body how to heal itself. You can knock out that inflammation that you've been dealing with, and they give you support along the way. You meet with your nutritionist every single week. If you have questions, you simply call or you email. You are absolutely never alone, and you always have support. And you're going to see those non-scale wins continue too. You're going to see your high blood pressure go away, type 2 diabetes, that can go away. Oftentimes it's reduced or even completely eliminated. And again, it removes that inflammation from your body so that you start to heal yourself from the inside. And I know, just on that note, Katie, the last time I went to the doctor, I've always been pretty lucky. No matter where my weight is on the scale, I've been pretty healthy. But I want to tell you, my blood pressure was always sneaking up there. I have a lot of stress in my life. My blood pressure, my doctor looked at me and he goes, "Good job, girl." He said, "I know you've been losing weight and your blood pressure numbers are absolutely perfect." Everything in my blood work came back. And that feels really good when you know you're not just seeing the results and you're not just feeling the results in your clothes, but that your health is actually getting better.
Yeah, and for me, I was able to get rid of what they call metabolic syndrome. So my weight
Wow.
was too high, my cholesterol was too high, and it was not. They said I was pre-diabetic, and through PhD weight loss, I was able to lose about 35 pounds. And I got to tell you, okay, yes, I love it when all the health numbers come down, and I know
Yeah.
that's what's important. But I have to say, for myself, it was actually the fact that I went from a size 12 dress to a size 8.
Yeah.
That just felt amazing. I didn't have to dress to kind of cover myself up anymore. I felt so good.
It really does help your confidence too. I mean, that's the thing I notice. You just feel better in your clothes. And when you feel better in your clothes, it kind of radiates out of you. It's really fantastic. And if you want to join us, we're doing PhD together. Katie's in maintenance mode. I am still on my journey. And we want you to join us, join our PhD family. Go right now to myphdweightloss.com today and sign up for your consultation. Better yet, give them a call, 864-644-1900. 864-644-1900, myphdweightloss.com. And here's what's really cool. The first 11 callers, I just got this hot off the presses. The first 11 callers who mention Jen get 2 free weeks added to their program. Plus, when you fully commit, you'll receive 15% off your entire program. That is some meaningful savings. Plus, get a free weight loss and energy supplement bundle, and your program will be backed by their Get Results or Get Your Money Back guarantee. You're saving money, you get a free gift, and if you don't lose weight, you get your money back. Are you kidding me? Just mention the word Jen when you call. That's for the first 11 callers. It is that easy. 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, or myphdweightloss.com. All right. The bullying on the left still continues from Jasmine Crockett, who's pretty despicable, saying that the governor of Texas should be known as Hot Wheels because he's been paralyzed since 1984 when a tree fell on him. Very sensitive and charming there, too. Of course, Tesla dealerships and Tesla dealers being threatened. And some news, actually, as we record today, there was a suspect that was actually arrested, taken into custody in Las Vegas. They have him on security camera footage. throwing Molotov cocktails on Teslas in Las Vegas. He also was writing the word resist on several of the vehicles. Totally domestic terrorism. I mean, this is what it is. They're trying to scare people out of having or buying Teslas. Paul Kim, 36 years old, was arrested on Wednesday by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, which was a week after at least 3 cars became engulfed in flames at their local Tesla collision center. But this is just the latest example, and I'm glad they're arresting these guys. There needs to be an example made from the people who are perpetuating all this violence.
Yeah, here closer to home, just a couple miles down the road from me, is the headquarters of Freddie Mac. They've actually just arrested a woman. Well, I have to say, the Fairfax police arrested her and released her, which is sort of the way things go here lately. But she's been threatening to bomb Freddie Mac. So there. But I tell you, this really has been on my mind a lot lately, the bullying, because we've got an effort going here in Fairfax County to try to support high school Republican clubs. So you've got Democratic socialists in practically every high school. You've got Democratic clubs in every high school. You have the craziest left-wing clubs in the high schools. And you have maybe a handful of Republican clubs. And the story that I keep hearing is that when kids try to start a Republican club, they get bullied and made fun of. And so they quit and they give up. And it just, the left's bullying, you know what? I'm done. I have so had it. And, I know we've talked about this, but Sebastian and I were really exposed to this when we went into the first administration. And it's terrifying when it first happens to you. And you really think your world is shattered. And then you kind of get through it. And then you're like, I don't care. And I think this is sort of where President Trump himself is at. I think there's a point where you go through this arc where it's scary and it's like can be overwhelming. And then you're like, oh no, I'm not going to let this beat me. I really think the time has come that we have to stand up to the left's bullying. I am so tired of hearing people saying they don't want to be public about the fact that they're Republican. They don't want to be public about the fact that they're a Trump supporter. They don't want to put the sign in their yard because they're scared. And it's like, I'm sorry, until we start standing up to the bullying, they are going to keep doing it because it works for them.
That's the point, is it works. That's why people, those high schools you're talking about, don't want to form a high school club, or why people in Los Angeles go, I'm a Republican too. And they kind of whisper it to you. I do believe that this is making us more defiant, however, and I think that's where President Trump is right now, where, as you mentioned, he's been through it all. And I think, we weren't even going to talk about this today, but I think that Signal story is a perfect example of how President Trump has said, you know what, you are not going to split us up. They tried to do that with Elon Musk. They were calling him President Elon. They're trying to play on the ego of President Trump to try to put a barrier in between Elon and the president. That didn't work. Now they're going after Pete Hegseth, saying he was drinking when he sent that message out. I mean, are you kidding me? This is what they have to resort to. They think there's blood in the water, and I am so happy. And again, who knows? Things can always change. But President Trump has been so steadfast in his support of both Mike Waltz and Pete Hegseth. And I'm here for it. We need to use that bravery and that courage to say, you know what, enough of this stuff. And I'm happy to see that Elon Musk is doing it and he's not letting it deter him, because he seems now to be enemy number one in the mind of the left.
Yep, that is the truth. And it's so interesting because what they're doing right now to Mike Waltz is exactly what they did to Mike Flynn. They're trying to take him down. And I'm so glad that Trump is standing by him.
And the sad thing is that Mike Waltz probably has, other than Marco Rubio, the most bipartisan support of any of these cabinet picks around President Trump. Now, you didn't need to have him confirm, but I'm telling you, people know on both sides of the aisle that Mike Waltz is salt of the earth, that he is a good man, and that he is not someone who takes his job lightly. But they'll turn on anybody. They'll turn on anybody if they think that it is a little chink in the armor of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's the truth.
that was one item. Of course, that bullying, it's got to stop. But, as much of this week's news coverage has gotten really swallowed up by the news media clutching their pearls about Signal. And yes, it was an embarrassing mistake. And yes, it can happen again. But there was something great that happened at the White House this week that I feel like it just really hasn't gotten the attention it deserves. You and I are big on election integrity. You and I are big on the security of our elections. It is all we have, truly, in this country. And President Trump did something brave, courageous, and I think that needs to be applauded. One of my favorite things that he's done so far is this executive order on election integrity, essentially saying that people need to show proof of citizenship before they register for federal elections. He's also, and it does several things in this executive order, but we'll just go over them broadly. It also is going to require states to cooperate with the federal government, with the Doge people, the Elon Musk people, to make sure that they're checking the voter rolls. I'm going to tell you, in California, that would be huge for us to get all the dead people off of the voter rolls and actually keep them off. I know the same thing with you in Virginia. This would be a huge step to not only clean up the voter rolls, but to require voter ID. And this should be simple. Everybody should agree on this. And if not, then the federal government says, well, we'll start to withhold state money for your elections, and then we'll see if you come to the table to cooperate. But you have to be a citizen to vote in this country. This is easy. This is not mean-spirited. It is not targeting any individual race or gender or person. It's just saying you have to be a citizen if you want to cast a legal vote, and you have to show that to us now. You have to prove that.
And here's why this is so important right now, more than ever, because a lot of people don't realize under Joe Biden, illegals were getting Social Security numbers. And then you had about half the states that were actually issuing driver's license to illegals. And what some states did, like my own home state of Virginia, in spite of the fact that we have a Republican governor, our state actually changed the driver's license so that the driver's license for an illegal alien looks virtually identical to a regular driver's license. And it goes, there are so many problems with the voting system. The fact that there are plenty of duplicate Social Security numbers. Well, and of course, what we've learned already from Elon Musk is there were millions of Social Security numbers for people who were 120 years old and older. So yeah, and this question hasn't been asked. He talked about this specifically in terms of, are these people still receiving benefits? But how about the question, are those Social Security numbers being used for illicit votes?
Yeah. And you've already heard the people from the ACLU all up in arms. This is going to meet a lot of challenges in the courts, but it gets people thinking. It's one of those ideas from Trump that just seems common sense, that I think kind of brings people in to our side of this argument. And I think eventually the courts are going to have to rule for him, even if this gets tied up for a while, because you have to be a citizen to vote. It's okay to force them to decide on that, because it is the truth. You are not limiting accessibility. You are just making sure that the people that show up with that registration form are eligible to vote. And I'm very curious to know what this does to the mail-in ballot scheme, because if you have to show, not the vote by mail, but the motor voter rules in states where you get signed up at the DMV, are they going to be able to do that anymore? Are they going to be in the business of checking IDs? I think that's going to be a big question. It will change the way we do things, and I think that is for the better.
Yeah, I wish he'd gone after early voting personally. That's why also my other personal beef here in Virginia. We are going to have 2 elections this year, a primary, and then our statewide races, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and House of Delegates. 45 days of early voting for both the primary, which will only have about a 10% turnout in total. And yet we're going to have 45 days of early voting and 45 days of early voting again for the race itself. No COVID. Why the early voting?
I know. My beef is in California that we count votes for 3 weeks after the election. I mean, what are we doing here? We now have a 6-week long election cycle, and it doesn't help anybody. And we also need people to watch to make sure these elections are secure. You start spreading them out. That gets really hard. It gets convoluted. But
wait, but I have to disagree with you, which I rarely do. But you said it doesn't help anybody, but no, it does. It helps the Democrats.
Okay, it doesn't help anybody who doesn't want to see cheating. How about that?
There you go.
All right, I have one more quick story for you from California, the People's Republic of California. You know how Democrats love to run on their gender or their sexuality, right? The first Black woman this, the first gay this. So we have the first gay insurance commissioner in California. His name is Ricardo Lara. He was in the state assembly. He worked for an assemblyman before that. I don't think he's ever worked like a job that isn't paid for by taxpayers. But what's interesting about this guy is he made it like the pinnacle of his campaign that he was going to be the first gay insurance commissioner. Like, it's so obscure. It's not like the first gay president, but an insurance commissioner. All right, a big win. It's a statewide office. So he wins. And then, of course, many of you know we had really terrible fires in California. And right before that, it was revealed that many insurance companies had pulled out of California. Many of the fire victims had no insurance at all, or they were significantly underinsured. The state of California had put premium caps on people, so many insurance companies left town. This is all under his watch. Now, after the fires, they start having these insurance hearings, obviously these committee hearings to see what went wrong, what we can do better, how we kind of help the people who are suffering right now, who've lost everything. And Katie, he hadn't been to 2 of those meetings. Now, I heard he went to the 3rd, but that he was so inept, he didn't know what he was talking about. Turns out they started, and this wasn't conservative media, this was ABC News, did an investigation, mainstream news media did an investigation as to why he couldn't attend those 2 hearings. They found that he was using $34,000 of the taxpayers' money to go on trips to Bogota, to go on a very luxurious trip, first class airfare to New York City, staying at a very nice hotel in New York City, all because he was attending different Pride events as he was traveling around as insurance commissioner.
How can people think that these things aren't going to get scrutinized? You got to be an idiot.
Especially when it's ABC News. It wasn't Red State. It wasn't Town Hall. It wasn't Jen and Katie. It wasn't Breitbart. This is when somebody who goes, hey, we just lost our home and we want to know why the insurance commissioner isn't coming to these meetings. And then they discover this gem, that he's doing nothing for insurance. He's not out there on a fact-finding mission. He's going to Pride celebrations to celebrate that he's the first gay insurance commissioner in California.
Has he still got a job?
As of right now, but the heat is on, especially this story is just blowing up. Literally, it's been reported over the last couple of days. So we'll see if he will have a job much longer. But, you know, in California, they always slide by if they have the backbone.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Ugh. All right. Well, we thank you guys for joining us. We always have fun chatting with you, bringing you all the big news of the week. Don't forget, you can pick up that book, Next Gen Marxism. Katie Gorga and Mike Gonzalez, our guests today, are the co-authors of that book, available coming in paperback soon, but get it wherever you get your books. You can also check out Katie online, katiegorka.org. You can search her on Facebook. Just look for Catherine Gorka, and on X at Gorka Katie. You can find me on social media as well, Jennifer Horn Radio on Instagram and Facebook, and at Jennifer Horn on X and on Truth. And keep those 5-star reviews coming, sharing Happy Women with your friends. It really does help us out. We appreciate you. And you can connect with us on all of our platforms at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Happy Women. It's a Happy Women podcast. Thanks for joining us.